Watching iCarly.
Hello, hot fat guys. Alex Frankel from the Hot Fat Guy Club here with original hot fat guy Tevin, Milo, Fat Chuck Bass Evans himself. Tevin, you've had an interesting day today. There was a very, very, very large YouTube channel that came out with a video that you were heavily featured in today. I'm just going to share the thumbnail real quick with our viewers here. Jubilee put out a video of fit versus fat. And there you are, and there is our good friend Zach Miko. And I want to talk about your experience on this show today, number one. And number two, I want to go over two clips in particular that were impactful for me. Now, I have watched most of this video. And I'm quite frankly appalled, mostly by one particular person that sat on the panel who really was just there to throw matches into a kerosene fire. And that is Myron, the human hemorrhoid from the Fresh and Fit podcast. Do you want to tell me about your experience dealing with the immaculate hemorrhoid?
Even before we started recording, the first thing that he said was just how far can I take it?
Of course.
So then I in response to that was just so I'm guessing we're agreeing to agree that we're not going to keep it PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I'm just very curious as to what's going to come out of his mouth. What is he going to say? Because obviously, someone starting a conversation off like that, they're making their intentions very clear.
Yep.
And from there, it was just literally within seconds, shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you could have seen me in the back before I stepped forward, I just know that my facial expressions were that of just disgust and annoyance, because the first thing that he does is refer to fat, plus size, plump, chubby, chunky people as fat asses.
Right.
So he approached the entire thing from a place of disrespect.
He absolutely did. Yeah. And in fact, looking at the transcript of the episode right here, literally the very first thing he says is it's unacceptable to be fat. And he, something that we have said for a long time, that it's not your personal moral or ethical failure that you are a fat person. That is, one of the natures of the reality of the world that we live in. And he goes on this entire just absurd tirade about how it makes you a bad person and you have low value, and that you're wasting resources for other people, and it's genuinely appalling the language with which the manner with which he speaks, and also talks about how we should be bullying and shaming fat people and sluts and all these other adjectives here, which as a fat person and a slut myself, I don't know, I'm fucking great. People seem to like me. So, go ahead, bully and shame away. But it says more about you as a person, Myron the hemorrhoid, than it does about me. Continue with your experience and your story there, Tevin.
So there were many points during the episode where I had to check him for certain things. I had to check him for the way that he was speaking about women and the fact that he felt like he could speak for women. I had to check him on just the general things that were coming out of his mouth, because they were extremely vile. And I mean, even now, looking back on it, I'm still very confused as to why they wanted him to be a part of this conversation, because to a certain extent, I get it. You're a media outlet, and so you want for people to, subscribe, comment, interact with the content that you're putting out. But I also think that for a conversation like this, I feel like you'd want to be able to have a, level-headed conversation that, obviously can get heated, but not in this, capacity where this man felt the need to just like steamroll everyone and just like keep like, you'll see in his like even his mannerisms, like, twisting himself so that you get a straight shot of his t-shirt promoting his podcast and things like that. It
Or his
was
eyes
very clear
darting
that he
around back and
came
forth constantly.
right. It was very clear that he came on one mission and one mission only, and it was just self promotion.
Yeah. Let's talk about, just for context for our listeners, since we're not watching it right now, we are going to do a reaction portion to a much later part of the video. But if you do decide to force yourself to suffer through this, at about 3.5 minutes into the video, he talks about how he did an experiment in 2015 where he bulked for almost 2 years and got up to 250 pounds and then dieted back down to his regular weight. And it took him about 7 months, and he systematically did it by controlling his calories, tracking his macros, protein, carbs, fats, lost 1 to 2 pounds per week, blah, 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 blah. Now, he chose to gain that weight. He intentionally chose to get fat. He chose to gain weight to try to, prove God knows what. But I really appreciated you shut that down pretty quickly because his default is being a skinny person. His default is being quote unquote a more fit person, as the traditional society would label it. And that's very different from a person like you or I or Zach or any of the other big guys that were on the panel who have been fat from the moment we came out of the womb, basically. And that has been our default for our entire lives, and our maintenance to even maintain our regular weight and our regular size takes a lot more time, effort, and work than it does for a person who is already skinny and has spent our entire lives working to fit in, to lose that weight because other people have told us that that is the only way we are going to fit in or quote have value in our lives. Tell me about that.
So, I mean, I'll start off with my own personal experiences about that. And I like delve into it in the video as well. Like, I talk about the fact that, like, that pressure to fit a certain mold and to do things a certain way definitely led to, like, dealing with eating disorders and things like that. And, like, he tried to, like, tell me, oh, I'm a professional victim and things like that. And I don't look at it that way.
If I can interrupt you really quickly, I loved the quote, and it was one of the quotes they led in the sizzle reel of the video with, is "shame is what led me to an eating disorder." And that was one of my
Yeah.
favorite back and forths of the entire video. Is, first of all, kudos to you for being that vulnerable and real and honest in that moment. But that's the exact same thing to me. Shame is what led me to an eating disorder as well. And that shame is, the thing that drives people to serious depression, to eating disorders, to suicidal ideation or suicidal acts. And the fact of the matter is toxic shame is the thing that ruins people's lives around the world. And the fact that he called you a professional victim after speaking so honestly and eloquently about your own life experience is, again, truly appalling. He is a hemorrhoid of a human being. But was very indicative to me of, this is not someone who wants to have their mind changed. This is someone who wants to be inflammatory and, like you said, get a viral clip.
Yeah. His mind was definitely made up. He was going to do and say whatever it is. It was almost as if, like, the things that he was saying were scripted,
Yeah.
right? It was very clear that he was going to say and do whatever it is that he wanted. And, like, the moderator, I mean, you guys can see it for yourself and make of it what you'd like to make. I don't necessarily feel like the moderator stepped in enough as, like, he should have with some of the stuff to check him.
I'll say it, since I wasn't in the video. The moderator was about as useful as holding a cup of coffee in a wet paper bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there were times where there's things that we, like, started naturally to discuss. And, he was just like, like, let's not. What I do think would have benefited them is when we broke for, like, break, record us.
Mm-hmm.
Record those conversations because people's guards are let down. So record those conversations. But unfortunately, that was a missed opportunity that they didn't take advantage of. But like again, my focus wasn't on like what he was doing, my focus was really on like delivering as much honesty about my experiences as a fat person, my experiences with eating disorders and things like that. I mean, those are conversations that I haven't even had with my parents, you know?
Right. Right.
And coming to the realization that what I was dealing with was an eating disorder came from, you know, why am I doing this? What is this? Like, you know, trying to figure out with my depression and things like that, like what was causing me to, you know, approach food in the way that I was approaching it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a no-brainer that when someone, and it doesn't matter what size you are, when someone starts to starve themselves and stuff like that, that is, you know, that's an eating disorder. You're facing an unhealthy relationship with food.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple spectrums of what eating disorders look like. Binge eating is an eating disorder, just like not eating is an eating disorder.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
um, to turn around and be like, "Oh, you're a professional victim." No, I'm not, and I'm 100% a victor because I overcame those things and I worked through those things. You know, and despite people like, you know, Myron, who feel the need to speak ill about people who look like me, I don't take that, internalize that, and be like, I'm not worth it and stuff like that. No. I
Right.
know what I do. I know what I bring to the table. I know that there are other people that could attempt to do what I do, but what I do specifically is special to me.
Video of examples of from the video that I pulled from this. So we're gonna watch a couple of those. And Tevin, I would love your um, live reaction to it, what you were thinking and feeling in the moment, and let's take some cream to the hemorrhoid. I'll say.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna bring this up.
Correctly.
I mean, you deserve to be depressed if you're fat. I mean, the reality is that, depression is a very healthy response to inadequacy. When you're a man, you got to go out there and produce. We're not women where we can just coast on our looks and make it through life. As a man, you must produce
I gotta cut you
financially.
off, bro, because no one deserves to be like people die from that shit, bro. No one deserves to be depressed.
Let me finish. The reason why you feel depressed, and it's a healthy response to you being fat, is because it's your body telling you, like, wow, what are you doing? You need to fix this. You're sad because you're not going out there and accomplishing what you're supposed to do. It's your masculine duty to make money, to be successful, to lose weight, to be strong and fit so that you can protect and provide for the people that you love. And when you're not...
Okay, so I have to jump in on that for a second. Absolutely not. No, that is not your motherfucking masculine duty. Your masculine duty is to keep the people you love alive. That's it. That's it. That's it. It's to make the people around you feel safe. It's not any of those things. The reason all of those things are thought to be the masculine ideal is because of fucking assholes like you, Myron, who make it seem like, oh, in order to be a man, you've got to protect the people around you. You've got to have 8 million abs. You can't be depressed, and you've got to be powerful and strong and dominant. No, that's not fucking true. Also, Myron, you're looking at the floor the whole time you're talking about this. You can't look in the eye of any single fucking person that is on this fucking panel with you because you know that deep down, you know that you're fucking wrong.
So my take on that stuff, and this is what I was really gathering from it, is just like, you know, this is a hurt person who's clearly trying to hurt other people because hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
The realm of ignorance that he lives in, and the cesspool of hate that he swims in, is so deep and so dense, that I just don't see any way of like out of it for him, unfortunately. Because I think that there are unfortunately other people who think like him as well, who love to, like, you know, uplift that type of behavior.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think that people like that, that's the most unmasculine thing that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
I think that that behavior, like I said, stems from, you know, a place of hurt. I don't know what happened to him, you know, when he was younger and stuff like that. But like this nasty disposition comes from somewhere. And it definitely doesn't come from fat people.
No. All right, let's keep going.
Love. And when you're not able to do that, you get depressed and you get sad, rightfully so, because you're a fuck up.
Have you experienced depression?
Well, I've had times where I've been sad and stuff, but I always get over it.
So you shouldn't speak on it then.
I
Like
think that's very insensitive to people who actually
people
have
deserve
mental
to be
health disabilities.
Depression most of the time is not real. No.
Fuck you, Myron. Depression is not real. Fuck you. Deep down, you know he is the most depressed, sad, insecure little shit on the fucking planet.
I think you broke.
What?
I can't hear you.
Ah, shit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would venture to guess he's one of the most depressed, sad, insecure people on the planet.
Oh, for sure.
Like, well, I get sad sometimes, but I just get over it. Do you, Myron? Because everything about your behavior says the exact fucking opposite of that.
And it's like, you're clearly on defense mode, like, round the clock.
Yeah.
That's gotta be exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't want anyone, even though you know, people who know what to look for can so clearly see through the facade that he is absolutely full of bullshit.
Yeah.
But he's so desperately scared that someone will see through that.
I mean, the more that, like, I listen to this playback, the more I'm just like, how did I endure this? He's insufferable.
Yeah, truly.
And I feel like it's so unfortunate that, like, most of this conversation ends up being centered around him.
Yeah.
And, like, the nonsense that he did. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's see how much worse this gets.
That's fucking wild.
No.
That's fucking wild.
The earth is flat.
A lot of the times when people are depressed, it's because of their own inadequacies. You're messing up in something in your life.
Is that an inadequacy?
He doesn't mean in all cases.
No, he's saying like in the majority.
When you say a blanket statement,
There's
like
always
that,
going to be
right?
exceptions, but I'm speaking generally in this context of being fat and why you were depressed. It's because
That wasn't the only reason why I was depressed, but go on.
Okay, but it's a component. You know what I mean?
It was a big component.
It was
for
a
sure.
response to your inadequacy as a man. And the thing is that we live in a meritocracy. I know everyone likes to run around and say, oh, everyone's equal and it's all equality for everyone. No, that's not how the world works. Why the fuck should I be treated equally to someone who's fat, broke, not disciplined, and not as intelligent? It's a competition. Life is a competition.
Where are you getting the notions that people are not disciplined? Where is that coming from?
If you look at depressed guys,
I love you, Tevin.
Look, I call it like I see it, and I have a pretty good bullshit detector. And, yeah. I mean, come on. Like,
I'm going to sing your praises for a moment because Tevin proceeds to strip him down in the next couple of minutes and absolutely blows me away with how eloquent he is without catching an assault charge in this moment here.
depressed guys, etc., look at their life 9 out of 10 times. They're not going to the gym. They're not making the money that they're supposed to be making. They're not where they need to be. Show me a guy that's making money, successful, has a good set of friends around him, has a network, etc., that is depressed. You would rarely find that. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions to the rule. But in general,
understand that it's not black and white.
When you get depressed, a lot of the times it's because you're a fuck up and it's your body's natural response to you being a fuck up.
Has anyone here ever felt like they didn't have control over their body or their physique?
There's times where I felt like I didn't have the control I wanted, but there was never a point where I'm like, this isn't within my ability to do.
Yeah, I think we all go through stages, especially mental health.
You wish it was easier sometimes, but other than that, it's like, no, of course I'm in control of it. I know I am.
So, I've started a fitness journey. I've been smaller, I've been bigger. I used to be a dancer. This really was what fueled me, hit a depression. I turned to food as, something to comfort me. And I realized that I was spiraling, right? Started working out again, kind of fell off of it. But this year I told myself it was my year of renaissance, right? That I was going to actively make the changes in all aspects of my life, including my health, including what my body looks like and what my body is capable of, And so I've been doing that. Now, did that mean that I was any less of a hard worker? No. I fucking worked 3 jobs, 2 of them that I love and 1 of them as a survival job to make sure that I'm able to continue doing what I love. So I go to the gym every single day after work. It doesn't matter what time I get off of work. It doesn't matter what things that I have going on after work, I go. But again, going back to assumptions, you looked at me and you made assumptions about laziness, about not caring about my health and things like that, when that's the complete opposite. I reached out, I got myself a trainer because I was like, I can't do this alone. And I told him straight up, these are the things that I want you to work on with me. I want to work on building mass, losing weight, but most importantly, consistency. And I feel like all of you guys can agree that that's what it is, right? Am I where I ideally want to be yet? No. But I also learned that I needed to love myself as I am right now and build those tools so that when I get to where I'm going, I can enjoy it that much more because it's a labor of love.
It doesn't have to be a labor of love. Some people.
Talk to me, Tevin. What are you feeling right now?
I freak out listening to my voice.
Mm-hmm. Why?
And it's so funny because my voice sounds so different in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear it coming at me, I'm like,
well, you know why it sounds different in your head versus when you hear it on recordings, right?
Yeah.
Bone conduction, baby.
And it's also too like, I feel like my voice is so monotone too.
Yeah.
And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm, and then I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, Napoleon Dynamite.
I disagree with that, but the way you spoke there was beautiful, and I think that you really got the point across of it's not a laziness, it's not a lack of making the choices to do the things that I need to make myself feel good or take care of myself. I'm here, I'm doing it, I'm doing the work, I've taken the steps that I need to do, and I do them every single day. I'm not lazy. This just is the default that my body exists at. And there are the healthy, consistent ways of doing this. And then there are the unhealthy, inconsistent, terrible, unsustainable ways of doing this that we've tried throughout the courses of our lives that do not bring us the results that we want for the length of time that we want. And I applaud you for being so eloquent and so honest in that moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, I feel like transparency is really important.
Yeah.
Because anyone that has a bullshit detector is gonna obviously call you out.
Right.
But also people who are listening to this, my hope is that they'll always get something out of one of my experiences.
Yep.
So that they either don't feel alone in theirs or don't experience the same things that I've gone through.
Right.
Because I feel like that's so unnecessary to keep that cycle going.
Yep. And the difference in the way that you speak about these issues versus the difference in the way Myron speaks about these issues is Myron's not looking to help anybody or make anybody feel better about themselves. No, he's looking to hijack algorithms and create controversy so that he can have notoriety to make him feel less insecure, because he thinks that if people listen to what he has to say, it means that he actually has a voice that's worth listening to. But at the end of the day, what he is doing is actively trying to make the world a shittier place and make people feel terrible about themselves. Whereas what you are doing is trying to give the people the tools to hear your lived experience and your transparency and actually be helped and supported by what you have to say and what you have lived through. Which is, again, incredibly admirable and far more important than anything Myron's ever going to put out into the world. So
I believe in freedom of speech, of course, and I believe that people should be able to express themselves. I don't feel like
position, I would do what
a cap on things, but unfortunately, I have to say I do feel like people like him should be censored.
Yeah. Now, speaking of people like him should be censored, I'm jumping to another part in the video that was one of the most appalling things in the entire thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play that now.
Do what I can in order to get to a healthier weight.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone gets to say their piece before I go. I mean, yeah, it's completely unacceptable to be fat as a man. It's completely unacceptable. It's just so many problems with it. I've been fat, I've been skinny, and I've been in shape, and I will pick being in shape every single time. Just like if you have someone that's rich versus someone that's poor, they will pick being rich every single time. And the thing is that most fat people, not all, but most, have never even seen their abs. They've never seen what their body is capable of. They've never been actually happy with their physique. And once you get that taste, you're never going to want to go back.
So I do want to address something right there. I have seen my abs. I have been skinny. And even at my absolute skinniest, I'm still fat. Even at my absolute skinniest, I still have man boobs. I'm still fat, even at my fucking tiniest. And I've done that. And to be honest, the amount of work that it takes for me to sustain that is so exhausting, so miserable, and takes up so much of my time. It did not give me any space to have any life outside of fucking working out. It was literally 6 to 8 hours of training every single day to be able to see my abs. I don't need to do that. I'm back up to nearly 300 pounds now. I am so much fucking happier now than I ever was when I was 200. So just to put that out there real quick, let's keep going, because the true horror of his statement is incoming.
I want to go back. And then on top of that, you're going to want to go ahead and tell all those fat asses that you were once friends with, you need to get in shape. This is awesome. But the reality is we live in this crazy world where we coddle fat people, we coddle idiots, we coddle morons, and we don't hold anybody accountable, and we allow me...
Your face right there, Tevin. Oh, he would have been eating knuckles if I was in that room. Okay, hold on. We're not there yet.
And we allow mediocrity to strive in the West. And I think we need to go back to shaming fat people. We need to go back to making fun of them. I mean, if I was president, hell, I'd put all of them in a fat concentration camp so they can concentrate on dieting and exercising, because being fat is completely not acceptable.
I still can't believe that that's a real quote that he actually said. Like, he is literally Cartman.
What I hate most about it is that when asked if he would like to change his statements and things like that, he was just like, no, like, I fully mean this. And when you think about what concentration camps are, and you think about what happened, and you think about just the history of all of that. What?
So I can speak to that. Hold on. I'm going to bring something up here real quick. So my last name is Frankel. I'm Jewish. And my uncle has been in the process of charting our whole family history. So my father was 92 years old when he passed in September. And my father's father was one of 5 children. My grandfather's name was Alfred. He was the oldest. His youngest brother was the only sibling that did not manage to make it out of Czechoslovakia before the Nazis took it over. My uncle managed to find the reissued passports by the Nazis when they took over Czechoslovakia with the J for Jew on it. And to read the letters of the experiences of my great uncle that I obviously never met, who literally was in the concentration camps. In fact, in this same album of photos here, I have his pin from Dachau. This was from when he was in Dachau, the concentration camp. So, again, Myron, you're a hemorrhoid of a human being. And you're only saying things like this to get yourself attention. You don't actually understand what the fuck you're talking about. And it's truly just unfucking believable. What an unbelievable sack of shit you are. Oh my God. And I can't believe that fucking moderator didn't shut that down.
Well, the moderator, asked him, he was just like, wait a moment, are you really saying this? Yeah. And he was just like, yes. And the moderator was just like, so if I were to have them transcribe everything that you just said and have you sign your name on the dotted line that you stand by this, would you? And he was like, yes, absolutely.
And let's keep watching and watch that happen, shall we?
People back in shape, because what people don't also understand is that fat people bring a big burden on the healthcare system. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, etc. It's a big problem.
Do you really mean that, or are you just saying that?
I'm dead ass. Yeah, if I was president, make me president, I would get rid of the obesity problem like that. I find it interesting that they can lock us up in their homes for almost 2 years saying wear a mask, etc. But then I say, I'm gonna lock these dudes up in a concentration camp where we're gonna get them healthy food, we're gonna get them exercising, and I'm looked at as crazy.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess there's a distinction between having opinions about how COVID was handled and genuinely believing that all fat people should be in a concentration camp.
Yes, a concentration camp. Let me be clear. I'm talking about a concentration camp where they're concentrating on diet and exercise.
No, I wouldn't necessarily want to go from one extreme to another. I also would not want to be spewing out stuff just to hopefully get a viral clip.
So if you could snap your fingers and look like any of us, would you not do it? Like, would it not be worth it?
I'd probably choose to look like Tyler. I want to go to a place where it's comfortable and it's healthy all around. I'm not doing things that could negatively impact me in a way to get to a place like that. Like, I've gone through that. I've gone through having eating disorders, from chewing gum and drinking water and starving myself in different ways to achieve something. Like, when I was dancing, my dance teacher blatantly told me, if you don't lose a certain amount of weight, I'm kicking you out of the showcase. So what did I do? I resorted to everything that I could possibly do to cut pounds like crazy. And it wasn't sustainable. It really screwed with me mentally, but I was doing it. And of course, like, in the moment, it sort of felt good, but then I fainted in class one time. And that really, really sucked.
So I feel like you would switch sides if it meant doing it naturally. Like, he's obviously natural, he's natural.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously not.
I would switch sides if it meant that I could do it in a healthy way. And I mean, obviously, like I expressed, that I'm working on that. And I'm not saying that what you did was wrong. I really applaud the fact that you're saying to people like, hey, this was what my journey was, this is what it took, but I really don't advise that.
Okay, so here's the thing, man. Like, excellence and comfort cannot coexist. If you want to be an anomaly and you want to be the trendsetter, you want to be the top guy, you got to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. As far as like weight loss, because you said I'm just saying things to get a viral clip, how would you deal with the obesity problem?
Like I said, pouring life into people. How am I dealing with it? I'm sharing what it's taking me.
Explain what pouring life is. Like, what would that actually look like?
As someone who creates content online, I share what it is that I do in the gym. I share my routine. I talk about like, hey, today was a shit day, but guess what? I pushed past that and I just benched 405. That's more than I weigh. When I want to hang out with friends, if I know that my schedule does not allot me that time, but I know that I have this time during the gym, I'll tell my friends like, hey, pull up with me.
So you're inspiring others?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what if I told you at the camp, everyone's exercising together and they're inspiring each other?
But
Same thing.
You approached it at such a negative way. Like, you approached it from a place of shame. And like, most of us have blatantly told you that shame didn't really work. Shame is what led me to an eating disorder. Shame is what led me to unsustainable weight loss.
Whose fault is that,
when what
though?
we're looking for is stability.
Whose fault is that you decided to go an unsustainable route with dieting? Whose fault is that?
It's the fault of the people that pressured you into going that unsustainable route, because everyone told you that unless you lost weight, you were XYZ unvaluable person. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
I feel like,
oh my God.
part of it is me, right? And part of it is definitely the adults that like said the things that they said to me that caused me to make that decision. But I think the part that really gets me is when you feel like you have no way out, what are you willing to do to get your way in?
Right. Oh my God, Tevin, I can't believe you were in that same room with that fucking asshole. Watching Zach in the background lose his mind while you two are having this exchange is also hilarious to me. Good God.
I don't know. It's kind of annoying to relive this.
I bet.
I
Sorry to make you do
haven't made it
this.
through the entire video yet. I've started and I've stopped so many times, and I haven't made it through the entire video because I'm just like, this is insufferable. There's times when the other guys speak, and I'm just like, ugh.
I lost you for a second.
Like, they're not as bad as what he's saying, but I'm just like, I wish that we could put you guys all in, a little box and like tie it with a bow and just like send it away.
Right. Right.
Like, I guess sometimes my coping mechanism with things that stress me out now are just like to compartmentalize it and then dismiss it.
Right.
And that's kind of like what this is making me feel like. It's really unfortunate. Like, I should look at this video and feel proud. Like, hey, like, I did this. Like, I was good at this. But I'm like, instead, okay, I hear what I'm saying. I know that I'm doing good, but it's just too much.
Yep. Yep. Oh, jeez.
I don't know if any of that made sense. It's coming out like word vomit.
No, I know what you mean. This one peacocking asshole ruined the entire experience for you. Where if it would have been someone who, actually had a legitimate platform to stand on and wasn't just there to be inflammatory and say horrible things, then this debate could have actually been worth something. And purely because of the horrible things that this person has said, it correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my interpretation of what you said, but it almost invalidates all of the good work and the good vulnerability and good things that you said on this space, because you don't even want to acknowledge that you were a part of it, because that conversation was so hijacked by this piece of shit.
It's like, leading up to today, like, I was excited to watch it back and stuff, and I had braced myself for the concentration camp, thing. But like, actually watching it, I'm just like, yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not the moderator's questions or anything like that.
I mean, the moderator is sitting there like a wet noodle in the middle. Good Lord. They were useless. It's unfortunate. We can stop here if you want to stop here.
Let me get some water.
Do it.
Like, is it bad that like I'm here and like now I'm just like thinking of all of these like clever ways to just like call him names and things like that, and it's making me feel like a child.
Well, sometimes when a person is acting like a child, you got to meet them where they're at. So, what are the best ones you've got? Hit us with them. And that'll be how we close this out.
Moron, like literally.
Myron the
every
moron.
time I see his name, I'm like moron instead of Myron.
Yep.
I'm like moron, like it just flows right off the tongue, and oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, do I feel like I'll be friends with these other guys? No. Do I feel like I want to be friends with these guys? I don't care. But do I feel like I met those guys and respected them and they respected me? For the most part, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think where Moron is concerned, there was nothing. Like, like his demeanor is subhuman.
Yeah.
Like, I was so like, yeah, like this video is gonna be great. And you know what? Yeah, let me toot my own fucking horn. I look great. I do.
Yes.
I look awesome. Like, I put my best foot forward. I showed up in the most me way possible and served the look. You know, so I'm not mad at that. And if I was going to go toe to toe with a fool, you know, that definitely like did it for me. I'm just, why put him in it? And it's like all of the like comments seem to be like diverted to him.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to this video than him.
Yeah.
Even right now, like we're talking about him, and then again, it's like there's so much more to this than just the nonsense that, you know, I dealt with him.
Right.
And it's just, it's unfortunate that someone like that could do something like that. But then it just played right into what he wanted, right?
All it takes is one bad apple to spoil the bunch.
Because now people are going to go Google. They're going to go do their research. They're going to go find out who this imbecile is.
Yep. Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, let's stop wasting our time thinking about this sack of shit. What really matters is you came out not only looking amazing, but sounding amazing.
Yes, and you know what? We'll end off on a positive note. The comments that I have seen in regards to me have all been just like people found my voice quite calming.
Yep.
People found me to be very level-headed and insightful.
Yep.
And those are like comments that like just it felt really, really good to hear that.
Yep.
Because like I did realize like, yeah, I could potentially have an outburst and just really like let him have it. But instead I maintained composure. I didn't, you know, really like jump at him and stuff. So yeah, I didn't do too bad.
Yep. Yeah, no, you did amazing. And Eric left a comment on this. Thank you for having me. Anyone who sees me in public or at the gym can come and leverage me for advice. That's how we can promote change, empathy, and education, not shame. There's another comment directly underneath that. Yellow tank top dude proves that the biggest guys in the gym are the most empathetic and nicest people that you'll ever meet. We didn't really talk about Eric that much, but I will say I was impressed by what he had to say for the most part. Myron might just be Andrew Tate's distant cousin. Seeing Fresh and Fit here was a jump scare I was not expecting during daylight. Myron being on middle ground is hilarious. He has no interest in middle ground or conversation. This was a horrible middle ground. The net level of disrespect to that Fresh and Fit guy was dehumanizing. We should bring shaming back. Gets shamed. Nah, he's obviously very emotional and triggered.
I will say, I feel like Eric was very receptive to our points of view, and he was like speaking about being an empath and things like that.
Yeah.
And experiences that he had with a friend who struggles with their weight and things like that. So I think that there was a level of more understanding on his part.
Yep.
But there's like a level of understanding that I feel like I didn't really understand them either, right? Steroid usage and stuff like that. Like, if you know it's that bad for your body, the use of it, you know, how can you really like sit and tell somebody like, well, you're unhealthy, I'm disgusted by your body, and this is a la Greg. And you know, you're pumping your body full of these like toxic chemicals.
Right.
That could literally kill you and kills people more than obesity does.
Yep.
Like over the past like 2 or 3 years, there are quite a few fitness influencers that I used to follow on Instagram who have passed away from heart attacks.
Right.
And when they pass away from heart attacks, what is that? Right?
Right.
There was a point in
Steroids.
time during the video where I don't know if you can see this, but like I take a moment and I'm like confused because I hear heavy breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And for a moment I got nervous and I thought it was me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like, oh my God, like, am I breathing heavy? Like, this started to make me very self-aware and self-conscious about certain things. And, like, I was just like, okay, pause. So I held my breath for a few seconds, and I was just like, it's not me.
Was it
And
Greg?
it wasn't Greg. It was Eric.
Interesting.
And I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, dude, you're like massive, and like somebody would look at you and they would think to themselves like you're super healthy and stuff like that, and I'm super unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, but you're breathing so heavy and we're just sitting down.
Right.
Like that made me nervous.
Yeah.
And I like no one talks about those things, right?
Right.
I don't think I've ever really heard any bodybuilders talking about maybe possibly having like respiratory issues, shortness of breath, and things like that.
Right.
But here I am looking at someone, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's happening.
Yep. And yet we continue to glamorize steroid use and that type of physique, when at the end of the day you can just be who you are. Well, Tevin, I think this is as good of a place to stop as any. Thank you for going through all of this with me. I'm sorry to make you relive that experience, but I would just want you to know that I am abundantly proud of you, and that you really represented the body diversity, body acceptance, body positivity, and hot fat guy community incredibly well. And other than Moron the hemorrhoid, we are very grateful and very lucky to have someone of your eloquence, experience, and empatheticness. I don't think I said that right, but to be on a platform like that and to bring some fucking reality to the chaos that was going on. So thank you for showing us out so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I apologize in advance. I guess there's times where I'm kind of like emotionless in this video, or my eyes are kind of closed.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm just like,
it's late at night. For context, it's late here, so it's bedtime. So
I'm also like I'm like closing my eyes and I'm listening to it, and I'm also like, I cannot believe it's like that like video, and it's like, I cannot believe my eyes. I'm like, this happened.
Yeah.
This is real. Like, this is not a figment of my imagination.